Bună seara și bine ați venit la emisiunea By Alexa. În această seară avem o emisiune specială. Avem un interviu în exclusivitate cu domnul Karl-Peter Schwarz de la Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung, căruia îi mulțumim pentru faptul că ne-a acordat acest interviu. Bună seara, domnule Schwarz, vă mulțumim pentru acest interviu. Vă suntem recunoscători că ni l-ați dat.
Okay. Bună seara.
Ce părere aveți despre evoluțiile recente ale situației politice din România?
Well, I think that this is the most serious situation this country experienced at least in the last 20 years. After the marches of the miners to Bucharest, there was never a situation in which this country has been so isolated and under so heavy criticism from outside. And this comes from not only from the European Union, but many politicians in the European Union, the German Chancellor, Mr. Barroso from the President of the European Commission, other politicians expressed the doubts, and that not only people from the Christian Democratic the wing, but also liberal politicians. I don't forget that even the German Foreign Minister Westerwelle, who is of the party of the FDP, of the Liberal Party, which is in the same political family as BNL, expressed very strong criticism towards what happened, because it's inconceivable, it's not unimaginable for every other country in the European Union that things that happen now in Romania happen there. It's not possible. No? And so I think that the reaction was first a reaction of shock. They were surprised, they didn't expect it. They could not imagine that in a country which is part of the European Union since 2007, no? Which is in NATO, which is integrated in the Euro-Atlantic structures, behaves as if it were a South American dictatorship, or let's say an African dictatorship, leftist or rightist or whatever. No? So I think that the real problem here in the country is not which party governs. It's not a question of, as I understand it, it's not a question of right and left. It's not a question about what a kind of economic policy is more favorable for the development of the country, whether more state influence or less state influence or whatever. All these discussions, which are typical for all European countries, are secondary regarding Romania if we look at the central problem of this country. And the real nucleus of this problem is simply the fact that we have here an attack on the rule of law. And if this rule of law is not respected, all other things, you can forget them. Because you will not be able to modernize the country, you will not be able to revive the economy, you will not be able to, let's say, to educate the people in a proper way, whatever sector of society. If the rule of law is not respected, this is the fundamental of all other things. Then we can start to talk about politics. Then we can start whether it was right for the conservative government to make such difficult cuts in the social expenditures, whether the distribution of incomes are right. You can all discuss these things. But I repeat, this is secondary, this is absolutely secondary regarding the main question of this country, and this is the rule of law.
Mulți dintre cetățenii țări nu înțeleg importanța existenței acestor instituții ale statului și faptul că ele garantează practic democrația și nu numai democrația, și așa cum spuneați dumneavoastră și domnia legii. Pentru că ani de zile s-a manipulat, de cel puțin 4 ani de zile, trusturile de presă, antenele și realitățile care aparțin unor oligarhi au manipulat la modul bolșevic, aș putea spune, informația, în așa fel încât n-a existat și un echilibru în presă, încât să fie informație corectă. Cum să vă spun, a fost informația servită ca la catering, gata, mestecată. Omul a luat-o și a înghițit-o fără să mai discearnă cu mintea proprie ce e bine și ce e rău. Cum poți să lupți împotriva acestui lucru? Este un lucru care ne doare foarte, foarte mult pe noi românii. Pentru că nu toți gândim ceea ce gândesc politicienii. Marea majoritate suntem interesați de noi, de viața noastră, de societatea în care trăim. E dureros ceea ce se întâmplă astăzi.
Well, I think that it's obvious, no? I mean, it's I don't follow because I live in Vienna. I'm traveling a lot around, and I'm not only covering Romania but 7 other countries in the Central European and Southeast European area. So in a little bit I can compare the situation in the Czech Republic to Albania, Croatia, Romania, and so on. I would say that the media situation in Romania is particularly tragic, and it's much nearer to Albania than, for instance, to the Czech Republic. And this has absolutely to do with this what you mentioned, with these oligarchic structures, but also with this kind of let's say of an aggressive, spectacular, let's say sensationalist shaping of the information. Not only infotainment, just to inform and to entertain, but also to manipulate the things. And it is obvious that this has in a society with still a big amount of rural population, where the television is the most important channel of information, that this has a certain impact. But I would warn to overestimate the force of the media. I remember when Berlusconi won his elections, everybody said, most of the leftists said, well, this is because he has all the television and under his control, and there is a kind of televised power, of telecratic power and whatever. Then he lost the elections, and then they were quiet, and when he won it again, then it was again the television. And I've asked myself what was between. Why could he lose elections? And the situation in 2004, in autumn 2004, was not different from the situation now. I would say it was even worse, because most of the channels were connected and controlled by the government, and so the difference was not so much to the situation now. But notwithstanding, there was an Orange Revolution going on, and they won the election, and they opened for the first time in the history of modern Romania at least the hope for reforms and for modernization, for normalization of the situation and so on. I think that you don't need to be a philosopher, you don't need to be a jurist, you don't need to be a politologist to understand some very, very fundamental truths, because they are part of natural law. We have them in us, and that means you are not allowed to steal, you are not allowed to cheat, you are not allowed to murder, you are not allowed to put shame on other persons. You don't. I mean, what you have in the 10 Commandments and in this tradition, this is what everybody understands. So it is part of natural law, and the people understand this. And people understand also that this law has to be valid for everybody, not only for the poor people, not only for the people who don't have the money to accede to the funds they have at their disposition, but for everybody, And all kind of privileges of the political class has to be abolished, because this is against justice. It's against justice. You have to, and I think everybody understands this, I mean, if I followed a little bit in the last days the case of this Senator Magurianu, who was talking this retata against the fiscal authority, this kind of tax evasion and whatever. No? So I mean, imagine a guy who enters the parliament for PDD. No? Then he changes, because for political opportunity, to ONPV. Then he changes again in May, because the socialists in the meantime are under the power. Then he switches to them. So, and he defends himself saying, well, this is my inner voice, I'm following my inner voice. But what inner voice? The only inner voice is greed, is interest, is self-interest. Those people are not representing anything of the Romanian society. They pretend to represent the population, but this is cheating them in reality, because what they represent, first of all, are their own murky and greedy interests, and they're only their interest to defend themselves against the possibility to be prosecuted by law. This is the fundamental question, and I think this is quite easy to understand. It's quite easy to understand. I think every man in every village can understand such fundamental things, because it's not only since yesterday that those laws are valid. They were always valid, always.
Astăzi, nu știu dacă ați auzit, presupun că ați auzit despre pactul încheiat între militarii ieșiți la pensie, armata în retragere sau în conservare, care aparținea unității militare 2 și un sfert, care era unitatea securității statului, și care a căzut la înțelegere cu guvernanții, cu puterea din România, cu domnul Ponta, cu domnul de la Partidul Conservator, deci cu toate partidele, să se desfințeze Curtea Constituțională, ANI, DNA-ul și CNSAS-ul, Consiliul Național pentru Studierea Arhivelor Securității. L-am mai auzit pe domnul Dogaru astăzi, ieșind pe televiziuni și amenințând jurnaliștii că dacă nu schimbă foaia, e o vorbă, nu știu dacă o putem traduce, dacă nu schimbă modul de a se exprima față de aceste lucruri, vor trebui să părăsească televiziunile sau, mă rog, în curând își vor schimba opinia datorită faptului că alta va fi guvernarea. Un fel de amenințare pe care am auzit-o cu toții astăzi pe televiziunile române.
Well, I mean, if you want to go back to the times of Ceausescu, please go. I mean, this is a decision of the Romanian people. If the Romanian people accept these things, well, okay, then go back. Then go back as it was under Ceausescu. Because this is exactly the thing. It's exactly the thing. If you destroy all these check and balances in a democratic system, if you start to prosecute people because of their political opinion, if you start to menace journalists, as this happens now, then okay, what is the difference? I mean, go out of the European Union, forget it, go out of NATO, go with North Korea, Tehran, Moscow, whatever. This is your place. This is not the place. The European Union is not your place.
Aveți dreptate în ceea ce spuneți, dar ce ne facem noi cei care nu suntem de aceeași opinie? Că suntem destui. Deci balanța este jumătate-jumătate, cum să vă spun. Adică sunt cei de dreapta, sau mă rog, cei care sunt anticomunism, au ajuns în decursul celor 22 de ani cam la același nivel cu cei care sunt pro-Iliescu. De la 11 milioane de alegători pe care îi avea Ion Iliescu în 1990, sau cu PSD-ul, deci partea stângă, la ora actuală au coborât la 4 milioane și 500 de mii pe scor obținut la locale în alegerile care tocmai au fost. Partea cealaltă are vreo aproape 4 milioane, deci nu este foarte mare diferența dintre, să spunem, dreapta și stânga sau între anticomuniști și comuniști. Ar trebui să existe o echilibrare a forțelor, numai că în România nu există, nu se vede practic această echilibrare. Ce ne-ați sfătui? Dumneavoastră aveți mai multă experiență pentru că veniți dintr-o țară cu democrație consolidată, cu experiență multă, cu vechime în democrație. Noi câteodată suntem obosiți de ceea ce se întâmplă, adică luptăm de atâția ani de zile și vedem că atunci când spunem că am ajuns la un final în care nimic nu se mai poate întoarce, vedem că ne întoarcem spre anii 90, din păcate cu politica anilor 50.
Well, maybe I have been misunderstood before. I don't think that to go back to the 90s or let's alone the 80s is a real option for this country. There are people who want it. There are people who want it, but those people are a minority. And even, I think, the majority of the leftist voters and of the PNL voters, maybe not the voters of Mr. Voiculescu and the Conservative Party, but all the others and the majority of those voters, they don't want to go back to communist times. I mean, this is a completely absurd idea. And it's not even feasible because the country is no more the same country. I started to cover Romanian affairs more or less exactly 10 years ago. No? And if I compare my first impressions in 2002 from Romania, how it was, and I was shocked when I came here the first time, and I compare it with the situation now, this is another country. This is another country. A lot of things happened. You have a whole new generation of people who worked outside the country, who have working experience, who have full of cultural stimulus coming from every part of the world. They are connected with social media, internet, with America, with Canada, whatever. No? So you cannot imagine that you return in times in which everything is covered and there are no connections with the outside world. So I mean, it's impossible. It's not feasible. Second point is there was a process of reforms which started in 2005 with the new government, with the first reforms which have been done, have been done in the justice system, the first steps towards an autonomous and independent judicial system, legislation against corruption and whatever. So this was the reason. This was the reason. If somebody has to say it, because she's always attacked to Mrs. McAvey, no? The very fact that Romania is now in the European Union is mostly her success. It's mostly her success because she succeeded in implementing those reforms, and for a certain period Romania was on the first place for the severity of the laws against corruption and whatever. So please, nobody should tell me that the things is not possible in Romania. Romania is always behind. This is not true. This is not true. There are people who don't want these reforms, who don't want this modernization because they're afraid. Because it's much easier for murky and criminal affairs to live in a situation as it was before 2004 than now. No? And look at the people who voted against President Ceausescu at the impeachment votes. No? I mean, it was an association of a criminal association. No? I mean, 15 people, no, indicted, others with suspended sentences, and they simply go there and vote yes because he is against the constitution. What constitution? Was there only one element in which you could say he really heavily broke the Constitution? No, because there was an analysis of the Constitutional Court. It came to the conclusion there was none. As this is the only reason that you can suspend the president, no, then you have to accept it that the whole process is anti-constitutional. If it is anti-constitutional, you cannot go along with this process. But this has been done. So I mean, who is breaking the Constitution? Is it the president? I don't think so. the people who impeached the president. And that's, I don't say that to defend Ceausescu. We can talk about Ceausescu also. They made a lot of mistakes. And I want to say that the very fact that you are in this difficult situation is not on the first place, the fact that they are so smart and so clever in Ponta and Adonescu and these other guys, no? So they're so much better and they have the victory, or because the Romanian people doesn't understand that it was necessary to make sacrifices for the economic reforms, whatever. No, this was not the reason. The reason was the inner corruption inside the governing party. It was a failure of PDL. No? Now, with this new situation, everything has been covered and we are not talking about this, but this was the reason, because if this wouldn't have occurred, you would still have Emil Boc, as he was an excellent prime minister in this country, or you would have had Ungureanu, who was also an excellent prime minister, even for a very short time, no? And they could continue reforms which were evenly praised from the IMF, from the European Union, from every side. No? This was the situation in which the lei was stable for years and years. It was much more stable as the Polish zloty, for instance. No? Notwithstanding the very difficult situation of a credit expansion in this country, and the negative effects which are evidently the outcome of this, the crisis and the international crisis which goes back and has its efforts on, in Romania. Notwithstanding all these difficult situations, they managed to make grow the economy, no? And to prepare to get out of the crisis of this country. And I think that the Romanians have to think very well what they want. Maybe instead of looking the propaganda of Antenna 3, sometimes they should look what CNN or what BBC or whatever reports about what's going on in Greece, what is going on in Spain, what is going on in other countries. If you want to finish in the Greek trap, please go on. Please go on. You will not have anybody who will finance you. You will not get the money, because why should investors invest their money in a society which is corrupt, in which the money, nobody knows where this money finishes, no? Nobody knows what's going on. Why should I invest my money there? Why? I would not.
Conform declarațiilor guvernului și a ministrului de externe al României, se pare că aceasta nu este o problemă, că de ce nu vor mai fi investiții, pentru că România era orientată pe o axă, da? Iar acum, din declarațiile puterii politice, înțelegem că schimbăm axa, o luăm spre China, spre Moscova și spre Brazilia. Credeți că e un impediment pentru ei faptul că Europa condamnă ceea ce fac, însă și doamna Viviane Reding astăzi sau ieri a ieșit și a spus că vor fapte și nu vorbe, că guvernul Ponta nu și-a îndeplinit promisiunile, da. Să fiu sinceră, noi ne-am bucurat că doamna Reding a spus-o, pentru că una este să o spunem noi ca simpli cetățeni și una este să o spună un oficial european. Deci, credeți că mai iau vreo jenă acest guvern, ca să spun așa, față de faptul că vor să schimbe axa și să ne scoată practic din Europa? Eu cred că asta urmăresc, să ne scoată din Europa.
Yes, but I mean, this is something what you have you finished before?
Yeah.
No, I mean, this is not a real option. I mean, okay, yeah, if you want a society living in favelas, yeah, and living in conditions like in North Korea, okay, go on. Yeah? But I don't think that this is possible in a society developed as the Romanian society is. This is not a real option. This is a kind of a negative utopia or whatever. No, what they say, well, we have also other options. In reality, they have no other option. In reality, they have no other option. They have only the option to respect the values and the laws of the European Union. If not, they will have serious troubles. What they think is, and this is I think this is, yesterday I had an interview with the Romanian philosopher Andrei Pleșu, no? And he said, well, don't forget, no? We will publish it on Sunday, no? It was a very good interview, because I asked him what is the reason, no, that this country is, cohabitation between a president and a party of another political development is a quite normal thing, no? That happened in France and whatever. And the normal reaction is, okay, we try to ignore the president, no? We fulfill our political agenda, and then we wait and sit, and then in the next elections we will get around this. No? So this is the normal parliamentary and democratic practice. No? Why in Romania, instead of making their policy, because there was no kind of policy making at all, not at all. The only thing what I heard from Romania since this government is in power was the plagiarist case of Mr. Ponta, because he cheated the people, and now he says, well, because I have the power to install the commissions who say that I not cheated, I did not cheat, and he thinks that he can get along with this thing against every evidence, because everybody understands it. You can see it. You see it. It's a plagiate. You don't need a commission to stabilize it. Even a child can compare these things. No? But he tries to deny it. No? He thinks, because I have the power, no? And this arrogance of power, and this idea, I am so clever that I can do whatever because all the others are stupid. No? So the fact that he tells the European Commission says, guy, look at that, what is happening. This is against the values and the order of the European Union. No? And you have to do this, 11 points that were presented. No? He says, yes, oh, I'm so European, and always I was anti-communist, and I'm so European. He gave a shameful interview in Spiegel, which was full of lies. No? And he thinks that the people don't understand him. Does he think that we are all stupid? Does he really think that we are so stupid to do this, that he can get along with this?
Așa cred.
No.
Așa cred că toți
No, I mean, this is also offensive. This is also offensive, no? And this is, I would return to what Mr. Pleșu yesterday said to me, no? He said, well, don't understand, asked him, why is it going on so in Romania? He said, well, don't forget, it's hate, no? It's vanity, no? It's greed, the whole spectrum of negative emotions and interests. And then said, but don't forget and don't never underestimate the stupidity.
Yes.
And I think he's completely right in this. Yes.
Of course. În calitatea dumneavoastră de jurnalist al unuia dintre cele mai prestigioase jurnale din Europa, cum ați primit atacurile politicienilor români de la putere împotriva Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung, împotriva Nature, împotriva Le Monde? Ați fost acuzați că dezinformați, că ați fi influențați în mod direct sau chiar plătiți de către președintele Băsescu și susținătorii acestuia, adică de către noi, că noi îl susținem pe Traian Băsescu. Cum ați primit aceste atacuri? Care este părerea noastră ca jurnalist la unul din cele mai prestigioase jurnale din Europa?
I mean, it is so stupid that it's difficult to give you a serious answer on these things. No? Well, I would say first of all, if somebody tries to buy me, he has to invest a lot of money, because I am well paid for my newspaper, and I do not depend to get bribes from the mayor of whatever, Jew or whatever. So I mean, this is not my category. First of all,
but
the second point is, I mean, what kind of how do they think that the international media work? How do they think that they work, or how do they think that the European institutions work, or the politicians work? Do they really think that that it's possible to manipulate the biggest newspapers, not in New York Times also, or whatever, the Guardian in London, Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung, Süddeutsche Zeitung, that it's possible to manipulate just like this, no? that Mrs. McAvey is going there and giving informations, and then they simply, without checking, they put it. How do they imagine how we work?
Își imaginează că lucrurile se petrec în România, domnule Schwarz. Cineva sună la trustul lui Voiculescu și spune ce are de spus și apare așa în ziar. Ei așa își imaginează că merg lucrurile în țările civilizate. Probabil.
Because I can only say that I'm rather old guy in the meantime, so it's nearly 40 years that I work in this business. And I've been in several countries, not only in Germany and in Austria, Czech Republic, Italy, so I have a certain experience how media works and how politicians work, how the contacts between politicians and media and so on. And I can assure you the most efficient way to destroy your public relations strategy in a Western country is that you take the phone call and you tell the editor-in-chief of a newspaper, I don't like what your newspaper is writing. You have to you cannot do that. You have to say another thing. They try to do it. Sometimes they do it. Also in Germany, maybe you remember the affair of the former president of Germany, Mr. Wolf, who tried this with the Bild-Zeitung, and it was not for his good. No, because the only effect was that it accelerated his adieu from his job. No, so you cannot manipulate the people because the people are not so stupid. No, and they have a lot of possibilities to check, to counter-check, and whatever. So the only thing what you can do is to look at the facts. I liked very much what Mrs. Viviane Reding said yesterday at the press conference in Brussels. Fundamentally, she said, because she was asked, you've got a letter from the appel of these great intellectuals, Tanase and who were the others? Yes, who were the others? Not okay. Not this defending. That's not okay. So she said, yes, every day I get 150 letters. No? I mean, you can write letters, whatever. No? What I'm interested, she said, is what's going on in the country. What are the facts? What are the facts? And this is important. And they are not so stupid. They understand this. And Romania is under a special monitoring process. Don't forget that this cooperation verification mechanism of the European Union was one of the most effective things. Now they say, I mean, it makes me laugh. No, when the Prime Minister, after years and years of campaign against this process, with this mechanism, they say it's denigrating Romania, it's second-grade state, and whatever, and then comes the harshest report ever. No? Harsh because the whole work of 5 years before has been annihilated in not even 2 months of government of Mr. Ponta. No? And then he says, yes, it's a very balanced report. It's a very balanced report. Everything is okay. Yeah? I mean, what is that? No? And everybody can read what's written in this report.
E un fel de plagiat, domnule Schwarz.
Kind of a plagiarism.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Deocamdată, domnul Ponta, deși Comisia Universitară a constatat că a fost un plagiat și nu la 125 de pagini extins din lucrarea sa de diplomă, nu numai atât, a plagiat și cele 2 cărți pe care le-a scris ulterior acestui doctorat și are tupeul să nu își dea demisia și să ne spună tuturor că la interviul cu El País a vorbit în spaniolă și probabil că jurnalistul spaniol nu a înțeles exact despre ce e vorba, numai că jurnalistul spaniol a văzut toată lumea că vorbea românește, iar interviul a fost în limba română. Minciuna și manipularea la nivel de prim-ministru al unui stat este, cred că, de nemai întâlnit în Europa. De nemai întâlnit. Dar Germania, de exemplu, are o experiență în privința lui Hitler. Da? Cum atunci când poporul german a fost sedus de promisiunile lui Hitler și s-a trezit cu o mare nenorocire pentru care a avut de tras foarte mult. Credeți că riscăm să cădem în același păcat?
No, I would not overstress the similarities because it's always dangerous to make analogies between historically so different situations. But there are some analogies. There are some analogies. For instance, don't forget that Hitler came to power in the parliament. So there was this Ermächtigungsgesetz.
Lovitură de stat parlamentară.
Yeah, it was done with the help of the parliament. Because not only because there was no majority of the National Socialists in the parliament, because the others were afraid, and then they accommodated themselves. They had no vision, no political alternative, and then it happened. And in a very short period, a highly developed country with a very rooted cultural tradition for hundreds and hundreds of years fell in the most horrible barbary that you could imagine. This was done with the help of the parliament. Let's see the case where the communists took over the power. It was not always done like in Romania only with the mano militaro, but it was also done in democratic ways. For instance, in Czechoslovakia. In Czechoslovakia, the communists were a minority, and in a completely democratic process of voting, they took over the power in '48, and then they transformed the whole. They won the elections, and then they transformed the whole thing in a dictatorship. So. This was what I often hear in Romania now is it cannot be a coup d'etat because it has been done by the parliament, and the parliament is the expression of the will of the people. Let alone the fact that we talked before what kind of representatives of these people are in the parliament. Forget it for a moment. No? Even if they really would represent the interests of that. There are limits in democratic. Democracy is not only what the majority wants, no, and then it can do whatever, no, persecuting Jews, persecuting political opponents, building up concentration camps, whatever, no, because it's the majority and it's the will of the people. Now, I do not say that Ponta plans to do these things. Would not be like to be misunderstood on this. But I say that this concept of people's democracy, which was very typical for the communists and for all totalitarian movements, because they were movements on the basis of the society also, not only of a few gangsters, that this kind of thinking is very, very dangerous. It's the important point in the democracy is not the democracy as such. The most important, most fundamental thing is the rule of law, and it's the conservation of the liberty of the people. This is the most important thing. Whether a government is with this or this other way, if it has two chambers or one chamber or whatever, these are absolutely secondary questions. No, I don't even think that the democracy is the only possible free society. I could imagine also other models, but for the moment it's the democracy. Okay, so we stick to the democracy. But the democracy only as democracy, without regarding of the rights of the other people, of fundamental rights, of natural rights, passing over, threatening political opponents, blatantly lie about evident things what they do only because they have the power and they think this power is guaranteed because there is a majority in the parliament. No, it doesn't work like this.
Aș dori să vă rog să ne spuneți care este, să le spuneți telespectatorilor emisiunii Baia Alexa, care sunt cetățeni și nu sunt politicieni, un mesaj pe care îl transmiteți în situația grea în care suntem, cam ar trebui să fim optimiști, domnule Schwarz. Ne va susține, cel puțin pe noi, cetățenii, Europa, NATO, sau ne va lăsa la mâna valului care a mai măturat odată România în anii 50?
Well, first of all, I'm not here to give messages. I can only express my personal view. Well, it's not the view of my newspaper, it's not the view of the German government, it's my personal view, and you ask my personal, so we talk about this. Well, from my judgment and from my assessment of the situation, I'm not so pessimistic. No, I don't think so, because I already mentioned the progress in the Romanian society in the last 10 years, particularly the progress in the justice sector in the last 10 years. The new cultural and mental shape of this Romanian society. This is the one side. On the other side, I mean, look at the map. Look where the geopolitical position of Romania is. How difficult it was, even in the times of Ceausescu, just to get along with this position, which is very important for the Russians, which is of equal importance for Europe and from the point of view of the United States. The strategic importance of this place regarding Middle East and the Black Sea area. So. Do you really imagine that they would close their eyes if the mafia takes power here? I don't know. I mean, the fact is that for the moment you have a lot of self-defense forces in your society. So there is no way back to or a way. There is no simply way to a mafia state via referendum and via Ceausescu get out. So it's not so easy. So there are a lot of things which they have to count with the justice system. Okay. If there is a group like the military friends of Mr. Ponta, you quoted before, and if they take the power, they know what to do. They send the army on the street and to shoot on the police, like in the Securitate times, as they were used to do. No, then okay, yeah, then you have a hot coup d'état, and then you will have a situation like this, and then you can be sure that there will be an adequate response from NATO and from the European Union, because I cannot imagine that they would close their eyes for development like this. It's simply too dangerous. You have to understand that Romania is part of the Euro-Atlantic structures, and that means also a certain responsibility. And if you don't accept it, you should consider that the others will also, let's say, confirm their interest in the security of this region, and they will do it. So I don't think the situation is so dramatic. I think that the Romanian society will find its force. Maybe it will take time. It will still take time. And what I find so terribly regrettable is that you were on an excellent path, and you have achieved a lot of things in the last 8 years. And let's say 5-6 more years of this development would have saved you from a lot of problems which you will now have to confront once again. And I'm so sorry, not for PDL, not for Ceausescu. I don't give nothing about them. I'm not interested. But for the people of this country, for the poor people, exactly for those people within an incredible cynical way, are depicted as the pensioners in the manifestos of USLA. I am for the suspension for the application of the president because he stole my pension. I mean, this is an absolutely cynical play with poor people, and the poor people will have to pay the biggest price for this. What is happening now? Because they will see what it is, because they are if they continue as they started, you will be bankrupt in the next years, and you will have the Greece way here, and you will have the situation of you will lose still more people. I mean, there are already 3 million of Romanians outside, and they are they are very effective. They are a good contribution, a very important contribution for the development of the economy, but not here, in the other countries. Yeah? We are very glad to get them in Austria and in Germany. Very glad. Yeah? The French are glad and the Italians are glad to get them, no? Because there is a kind of competition on the labor market. Who gets the best people? Who will leave the country? Evidently the best, because it's a positive selection. No? Only people who can adapt themselves under no conditions, under new conditions, who are very ready to work and to engage themselves, they leave the country. Those who remain will be the poorest. And that's the choice that you have to make. It's not about Basescu. Those are the important things that that you have to tackle in this country.
Așa este. Așa este și noi gândim la fel ca dumneavoastră că nu este despre Băsescu, este despre statul de drept, despre respectarea Constituției și despre regula legii, așa cum ați spus și dumneavoastră. Spre deosebire de cei care ies în stradă pentru a da jos pe cineva, noi luptăm de partea principiilor și a valorilor, de care avem nevoie ca România să devină o democrație adevărată și consolidată. Eu vă mulțumesc foarte mult pentru acest interviu. Scrieți în continuare, pentru că aveți foarte mulți cititori din România, să știți. Noi vă citim articolele și, în general, toate articolele scrise de jurnaliști de marcă din Europa le citim, din Statele Unite, pentru că avem nevoie de nu ne mai simțim singuri, cum să vă spun eu, un sentiment de a aparține întregii Europe, care vine prin acest feedback cu articolele dumneavoastră. Vă mulțumesc încă o dată și vă mai aștept când doriți, când aveți posibilitatea și doriți să ne mai dați un interviu pentru cetățenii de la Baia Alexa. Mulțumesc mult!
Thank you very much.